Hi everyone, this is month end. So let's go through one day and then weekly and then monthly chart. And I think we should also touch base on higher one quarterly. But starting with one day, let's look at the structure first. So first and foremost thing, it is out of the orange box. This was the first major condition that we had. So it broke out, came down, retested this level, which is perfect, and now heading up. Now, of course, this is one more resistance. Now here, I would not provide very small interim resistance. If you're running fund, then this was the resistance, because then you are trading at a very small margin on BTC. Then this kind of resistance is given proactively, but here it's like more high level. So at this moment, this is weekly update, right? So I would say this is out of the first resistance. This is more like interim resistance. And of course, the next major one is the September 13th one, right? So far, so good. Now, this consolidation was very much local to this, last, I would say, 6 weeks of consolidation. So this breakout is not the ultimate breakout, just to let you know. This breakout is the first breakout, I would say, from this September or last week's 6 weeks of price action. Right, so we need to zoom out and see the bigger picture here. So this is the local and this is the global, okay, so to speak. Or this is the first level of consolidation, innermost, and then this is second level of consolidation, which is starting from June until now, right? So in that case, we could put a bigger box just to visualize it and simplify it. This one, okay, I would say this. Yeah, pink. Okay, right. So this work is done. Right now, the next one is the orange one, which is this point of rejection, and ultimately this one, this is also from September. My bad. This is from August, mid-August. So you might be thinking that, okay, now this is broken, which is true, right? But there are stages, right? This is not out of the woods, just to let you know, not to discourage, but I'm talking about the trend. Let's zoom out. This particular format is messy, so I would go for the Bitstamp on weekly. So last time we had this simple drawing. I had removed other and we had this simple drawing where this was the bottom and this is the main trend line. I mean the local trend line, which represents this. The bigger trend line is this one, okay? This one. This hasn't broken yet, so we still have a lot of ground to cover, remember. But for now, this is a good start. This is a good start. So at this moment, we can say at least there is no downside risk, and it has turned positive because it's about 20K. Remember when it was 18K, there was a risk. And we know that it is inversely proportional to DXY. And because DXY got rejected at 114, it happened twice, right? So Bank of Japan intervened and strengthened yen. So that's why DXY went down in the second attempt. When I raised an alert, after that alert, very next day, they intervene. So basically, they QE. They have been doing QE, pumping more cash and liquidity, and then pumped up the Japanese yen, and that brought down DXY. And it brought us, and because of that, and also UK, as you know, that there's a political change, so that also improved their sentiment, so to speak, and that also strengthened the pound, right? And overall effect, you see that the pressure built up on DXY. We'll check DXY as well because that's so important to know. Now, I'm talking about big picture, okay? So nobody should get confused that, or nobody should think that I'm trying to ignore what is happening, okay? Because I know that 5%, 10%, 20% move doesn't change the trend, because when we talk about weekly trend, um, we have to talk about a big picture, right? So if you think that I'm not excited enough, then there is a reason, because DXY trend hasn't broken, and we'll see that. So this is good. This is a good start, I would say, because this is broken. Then of course the next one is September, mid-September, and then August. So these are two milestone where, so it may continue going up. Another checkpoint, as you know, that 2nd November and 3rd November FOMC meeting. Now, the good news and bad news, GDP has gone up, which is good news, but it's bad news for market, because then Fed will increase the interest rate, because they would think that the market will be able to absorb, or economy will be able to absorb, not the market, sorry. The economy will be able to absorb, because if the GDP is strengthening, then higher interest rate should not damage the economy. So it will encourage them to increase by 75 basis point. So I think that, in my opinion, that market is already aware of 75 basis point fund rate hike. But what he would say, like for the future, like the forward guidance, everything depends on it. Last time in the Q&A, he messed up by saying slow down. Everything was fine. The market started going up because there was no surprise. But in last 5 minutes of that Q&A segment, he just mentioned that he sees economic economic slowdown. Because in previous meetings, starting from like Q1, he was talking about, he was not talking about recession. Then he talked about a softish landing. And then in last meeting, he talked about pain and slowdown, and the market didn't like, and that's why we saw this dump in September. Now, what I noticed that before the FOMC meeting, BTC tends to go up. Means the market, overall market tends to go up, assuming that Fed will not say something which will hurt the market sentiment. But if Fed says something like what Chair Powell said, market dumped the assets across the board. So this candle that you see was before FOMC. This candle we see is also before FOMC. So as I said, this was amazing, and this is also amazing. I'm not being pessimistic here, but very cautious here. So we are enjoying the long, we are enjoying the gain, but why I'm saying is we should not forget the big picture, and the big picture hasn't changed. We are in a bear market. Okay, this is more like a transition. We don't have to think about breakdown yet, because there is enough that even if that starts, there'll be enough time when we'll be able to discuss about it. So nothing to be, I mean, we don't have to think about downside risk at this moment, because there is none. So I don't believe in assuming something, but I believe in understanding with a condition that what are the key events that we are supposed to track, and then what might happen if any decision is not in favor of the market. right? So maybe the decision could be favored in economy, but not in favor of market, right? So that's the thing. So we should we can quickly go through DXY also and get out. Let me open actually. Yeah, we should cover both at this moment. Now, if you look at this is parabolic move, right? So some analysts are drawing trend line like this, right? Which is very easy. I would draw the same. So this is not broken, correct? So touch, 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 and touch. So nothing is broken. In fact, it bounced off this one. Now, this was the 114 I was talking about. We had highlighted. This is where Bank of Japan intervened, right? Because this was about to break out actually on the upside and then came down. So just in time, so to speak, which is good. So the DXY has been dropping for last 2 weeks, and that is giving required boost. We'll talk about Doge because Doge has different fundamental at this moment. That fundamental is also temporary, and I'll talk about that as well. Why it is pumping, in my point of view. From my point of view. So at this moment, if you look at DXY, I think we have to wait. To me, it has to break below 107 at least for this trend to be broken or disrupted, in my point of view, because this is extremely strong. There's no sign of weakness, and this particular correction is normal. Like it happened in June, remember, there was a rally in June, and that is because it corrected here, July month and all. And so basically, June, July was a pump. Let's open it. Right, this particular one, June, July, you see this one is because of this particular drop, and now this drop is pumping the market, but now it is rising. So that's why we are not out of the woods. That's the reason why I mentioned. There's one more factor, which is like a bond. Now the bonds are important. Bonds are not affecting BTC on a, it's not tightly coupled as DXY. Remember, someone might think that DXY makes 0.5% move on the upside, then BTC would reflect that change. The degree of association or coupling or bonding is not the same. So it is possible that the DXY drops and BTC doesn't bounce, which happened actually until few days for few days. Early this week it happened. DXY was going down and BTC was doing nothing, and all of a sudden then BTC started picking pace. So what happens, the proportion, their coupling, right, their degree of coupling is not the same. They are inverse, but not the proportion is not always at the same rate, so to speak, so that's something nobody knows, but at least we know that it's inversely proportional. Now, especially on Thursday, Friday, BTC was doing better, even DXY was uh, rising, and that's also a possibility. In past also that happened. If you look at the history, DXY history, I forgot at this moment. I think I tweeted, but somewhere I had to find out. I think this one, it went up. It went up. Let me find out later on, maybe, but maybe you can find out. But it's not that every other day it will follow, but these days it follows. right? So there could be some segment where both of them go up together. Somebody tweeted about it, and that's why I'm mentioning that some people think that it's decoupled, but the decoupling happens, and that's true, but not necessarily for how long it will happen. Nobody knows that, right? So at this moment, we have to assume that they are still coupled. So 1 or 2 days of decoupling cannot be assumed as um, decoupling for longer term. So this trend is the XY trend is still up. Um, so when I checked the M2, it 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 bounced off the support. This was a perfect support. And I was expecting that it would bounce from here, right? But the good thing is BTC is not follow. It didn't follow on Thursday, Friday, which is something interesting, right? So let's come back to BTC. Okay, so far so good. I think that, as I said, November 3rd meeting is going to be the driver, especially the forecast. 75 basis point, I think likely to come. But if they go down to 50 basis point, then this market will go crazy, and then I think it will be a tsunami. If Fed either indicating slowing down, um, or slows down with this one, like instead of 75 goes for, then we'll see tsunami of like on the upside. It will be like it'll blast off like anything. Really, like you will see the breakout. This is not a breakout in a big way, but we'll see a big move, like 10%, 15% kind of a daily. That kind of breakout I'm expecting from BTC. So that's why today is 29th, not many days to go, right? So we can enjoy whatever is happening, especially some of the trending coins we can enjoy. But since this is a weekly call, I think we had to keep the big picture in mind. So that's what I wanted to cover. In last call, if you haven't referred my last call, if you look, if what might happen if 17K is broken, you can refer my last week's video where I covered why 17K is super important and what are the low levels I have calculated. um but at this moment we don't have to talk, but for reference, last week's video covers lower level, and I also explain why there is a rationale behind those levels. So if you're interested, so there is a bit of TA as well. So if you're interested, you may refer it. And but probability wise is not a probable scenario at this moment, but more for awareness. Okay. So I think we don't have to complicate this one in this week, because this is strong weekly candle, and we should consider it as a positive move. We should not doubt at this moment. I'll just hide. So monthly candle is super strong. I mean, getting super strong. Look at that, nice. So this monthly candle, and we were expecting October month to be green, and we got it. Right. September statistically is always, not always, but statistically most of the cases is red in the stock market and also in Bitcoin if you study. And October is green. So we got green one, which is good, right? But as you could see, this is your point of rejection and this is the low. So right now, like this is, if you this is kind of a mid-level, right? 22K is kind of a mid-level. So it has to break above that, especially if it has to break above September high, right? Then we can say now this is really something big. So as long as it's below September high, we can say, okay, it's making progress, but there's to be seen, like not enough kind of situation. Right. So, and of course, we don't want it to break below 19K. So let me highlight that. So come November 3rd, If it breaks below 19K, then consider that it is it could break 17K, because I don't think it will go back to 18K and bounce off. Um, doesn't look like. So from risk management point of view, 19K level is super important and it has to hold. So right now it's close to 21K, so it's far from 19K. We don't have to worry. But if it starts declining and goes towards 19K, that's where we should be ready for the potential downside move. And in that case, the downside move could be nasty. And in that case, the whole entire wave could be reset and comes down to 10K and even lower, which you will see in my last week's video. Because this kind of consolidation is very, it's good and bad, because this is where it gathers energy. And whatever energy it gathers, it goes up or down based on that. There's no real capitulation that I wanted to see like here, but it's not a condition. This was a capitulation, a big one. One might say this is also big, which is good. Still, I feel that there is potentially a new low. Looking at the big picture, economy in mind, because all the countries are going into recession next year, high probability, and BTC didn't die, didn't hasn't it hasn't been proven as a store of value. Store of value is very subjective. One may say it has outperformed USD. So true. If you look at the 10 years, so store of value, true. But then any asset that has gone up is also store of value. So I think I will not get into store of value subject, because it depends on what time frame you measure. So for an example, if somebody is retiring and market goes into bad trend for a year or two, and he or she requires money, then for that person, it's not a store of value, because there could be huge loss, like 70-80%, 90% kind of a loss. So depends on person, depends on when someone has entered. So but as far as trend is concerned, I think I'm a bit conservative and cautious at this moment. Not a discouragement, not being pessimistic, but looking at the global market, global economy and all, and recent history where Bitcoin went down when during the COVID with the stock market, and recently with this bear trend, I I think I am more on the downside. Like at this moment, I would say more than 50%, like 60%, 70% weightage I would put on the new low, and 30 to 40% on the new high. I will change it if BTC continue going up and update you. But if you want me to take a stand, I would say I would I'm seeing new low from a probability point of view, and looking at the global condition, because global condition, people have no idea that how worst it is becoming. So I don't want to scare anyone, but whatever I learn, I'm sharing. So 2022 potentially is just a start. 2023 is likely to be the worst one. So let's see. However, there is one caveat though. If central banks continue to, if so, they said they're not going to do QE, and they're going to start QT. They haven't done QT. The debt is rising. They are supposed to reduce debt. They are not able to. So they committed in December. The Fed failed to do that. So the debt is not reducing. They committed that they'll start QT. They in Q2, quarter two this year. They are not doing it. So that is rising. So first of all, they lied, or you may say um, they are kind of they are not doing what they promised. If I should not be using lying, but point is they are not honest, which is kind of lying, but lying is more stronger expression. So I would say they are not being honest in terms of communication, because there are two things to be understood. In December, they announced that the QE is going to stop, and then they said in 2022 they'll start QT, quantitative tightening. Tightening means they'll whatever bond and mortgage-based security they purchase, they're going to sell, right? Because they had to clear up their balance sheet. Now, whole housing market went up because they kept on buying mortgage-based security. This is ridiculous, but that's what they pumped the housing market. They pumped all this asset class and equity. And with that announcement in December, it triggered the bad trend. Simple reason being because the interest rates were going to go up. So and then since then they have gone mad, and they kept on rising interest rate aggressively. The amount of interest rate they have uh, um, increased is historical. Historical means it never happened in entire history that much. So they have if they can they if they slow down, means if, in other words, if they break their promise, then market will pop. So one thing to be notice that market doesn't care about the economy. And I'll tell you why. There is evidence, because inflation started rising not in 2022, but since COVID 2020. Anyone who has noticed, only thing is people started paying attention because the market started going down, and market started going down only when the Fed stopped pumping money, because market doesn't care. Market requires that free money which was provided by the central governments across the world, not just the Fed, and that's why it kept on pumping and created the bubble. In reality, the productivity was going down because things were not made or supply chain was disrupted, but because of this liquidity that was being provided, like in the US $200 billion per month as part of the QE, it kept on pumping asset because all the money that came was kind of ultimately routed to the market. So if Fed or central government, I would say, for some reason, backtrack, they call pivot. If they pivot, means slow down or stops or pauses, then the market will go up like crazy. So I think the two aspects I wanted to cover: the market condition, the chart from chart point of view, and economy, and how the economy and the decision from the central banks are affecting the asset like Bitcoin. So I wanted to share my point of view, right? So Bitcoin is not moving up because of fundamental. It is moving up because whatever is being decided in the credit market. The credit market is driving BTC. This is one thing one has to understand. There's absolutely no fundamental which is driving the price. If somebody argues, then you may counter argue and give evidence. Think about Apple for an example. Why Apple has to fall? Apple stock, right? It doesn't make sense. It is they are making profit quarter by quarter. Of course, that's a least affected stock, but it is not supposed to fall. But and they have good cash also, but it's kind of victim of overall market, and it went down. Not much, 16% year this year compared to other companies which went down like up to 70-90%. Of course, the crypto has no fundamental or earnings, so you would see 70-90% drop and all. But that's how it is. So that's why. So even the good ones go down sometimes like that in the overall bear market. Anyway, so I think I covered what I wanted to cover. So the bonds, if you want to look at bonds, they are crazy, and there's no sign of slowdown. If you look at this 10-year, there's no sign of slowdown. And if you look at 2-year, these are two important ones. There's absolutely no sign of slowdown. This is monthly chart. Even if you look at weekly, there's some consolidation. And then it started bouncing last week after, but this is like, you can see it has to go down significantly. So why this is important? Because if it continues going down, Fed has to match their rate with this. And remember, the Fed rates are lower than this, so Fed has to match this one. So if this continue going up, then they'll have to also continue go up. And if you look at the big picture, 10-year, it has broken last 40 years of trend. So if Fed continues with the higher interest rate, the analysts are saying, few of the analysts that I'm following, that the crisis could be worse than 2008-9 financial crisis, because this is credit crisis and so many other crises, not just about few financial institutions. This is there was no inflation in 2008-9. We have inflation this time. So they are saying this is mix of 70s and 2008. So it's much bigger. And the problem is on the supply side. That's another thing, because China is kind of shut down and it has stopped the supply chain. So anything that central banks do, they can control the demand side, but if the supply side, they cannot do. So there are a few points, and the war has to be stopped. War is not stopping. If it escalates further, then it will ignite even further, and so on. So China, which is not producing enough, war, which is not stopping, and then so much of money is being spent in that overall, and because of that, commodities are affected, as you could see, and that's why food price is going up and all, because Ukraine is the provider, Russia is the provider for the Europe and Northern Africa, African countries, and so on. So these are the factors I wanted to highlight. Big picture I'm talking about, right? Again, I don't want to disappoint anyone or, so to speak, spoil your mood. Okay, but this is educational, and whatever I know, I wanted to share with you. Right. Now, Doge is going up simply because of Elon, and we should take advantage of it. Okay, it has. So we'll go alphabetical order, but we'll cover Doge first because it's front runner, right? So if you look at the chart, it has broken the resistance, which I'll provide the next one. So it has broken the first blue R1. I have reset the counter. Earlier R1, R2 are no longer valid. So I'll retag them. So I'll provide the R2. So you saw what happened. It paused at R1, but didn't go down. That's what happens. Either it could pause or corrects, like retraces, or just reverses. So in this case, it paused and then broke above, right? So that's what happened earlier. Also, it paused here. If you look at this one, retraced a bit. Here it didn't retrace it. It went up. So this is too strong. Now, why Doge is pumping is because Twitter is bought by Elon, and Elon's vision is to make Twitter more versatile, not just social media platform, but he would like to make like a WeChat. WeChat, as you know, that it can also do transaction and other e-commerce thing. So if Twitter become a platform for e-commerce, then, and so people are speculating that the currency would be Dogecoin. And that's why Doge is going up. Simple reason. So there is fundamental. reason behind why Doge is moving up, right? And but remember, whatever I said on economy is a bigger fundamental, right? And that will overpower this Doge fundamental, because that is, so whatever price action that you see is good. But come November 3rd, if Fed is not going to pause or slow down, I don't think even Doge can uh, sustain or continue. If it continues, we'll enjoy, because we'll have something to, I would say, take advantage of. But we'll see on November 3rd how it goes. So far so good. And this is the strongest coin, as we can see, for the obvious reason. So the downtrend is broken. If you look at the trend line, so this downtrend is broken. Maybe you can consider this line. Sometime the trend line are tricky, and then now it is it was here, and now I think I'll give you the target, not based on trend line, but I'll give you a rough target here. Resistance 0.13 is where it is likely to react. We'll see 0.13, somewhere here, 0.134, 133 kind of level. So that space is there. So trend line is not single trend line. Remember, trend line is, there are multiple trend lines. So like what I said, drawn is also trend line. So if you just draw this one and then start dancing, nothing wrong, but there's a difference. This is not a trend reversal yet. Okay, not yet. Okay, let's continue with other coins and see how they're doing. So this is perfect, bounced off, and now heading for the orange atom. This is also nice bounce, recovering. BNB now breaking above September high, heading for the August high. Crow not charged up yet, but so far so good, right? It's moving away from the support. DOT much better, nothing special though. EGLD sideways, it went for last 3 weeks, so nothing much. Ethereum is also making progress, pretty strong, I would say, one of the strongest in the list. Filecoin hasn't started making a move yet, so it's still it's not in a mood of pump, right? For some reason, right? So we don't know. Of course, it is capable of making a huge move. History says that. If you look at these weekly candles, huge candles. So it when it starts big. We don't know yet, because there's nothing, there's no pump yet, right? So, but yeah, it's staying above the support. Not a great one for now, for this week, because it hasn't started. Flux is now moving away. So it bounced off this support, which is good, and now trying to recover. FTM, for some reason, it's not the same coin as it was earlier last year. I mean, not we look at this one, huge. This is one of the highest gaining coin in terms of percentage. It was like it moved up around 210,000 percentage, 6-digit number in terms of percentage. Let me repeat. Because even I didn't calculate the percentage, around 200,000 percentage last bull run. Okay, crazy. Simple. Like if that means one, it's 2,000 times. Just crazy. Anyway, so yeah, there's no major breakout yet. It's still holding up well though, consolidating. So we'll have to wait for it breakout. HMT weaker. Surprising, it's not doing so good last 4 weeks. So strange, but that's how it is. KCS is, as you know, one of the good ones. It's recovering quickly. Link, not showing any kind of firepower here. Pretty dull, so to speak. So Link is also a charmer, like an amazing coin. If you look at this particular bull run in 20, this was a hero, but that spark is not visible. That it's now pretty ordinary coin in terms of price action. I'm not talking about the fundamentals. In terms of price action, it's not attractive at all, at least in recent past. If you look at this and this one, there's nothing much. This is one of the strongest ones, as we know. So if even from the June low, it went up significantly. And then this also like bounce on the support and now pretty good height. Matic is one of the strongest ones. Sandcoin is not making a big move, but you know that it is kind of crazy. So it's last bull run, it was really crazy. Yeah, for this one, same like FTM, nothing much. So also silent, so to speak. So this is, I would say, the same for SOS Solana Solcoin, that it is not showing its firepower yet for some reason. So we have to wait when that will start, because if you look at this one, also this was amazing, but we have to see when it starts. No, not bad though. It's not dying, but there's no firepower yet. So we have to see. Okay, so I think if I have to summarize, I would say BTC is making positive move. November 3rd is where we have to watch out. Until November 3rd, I'm expecting I mean it is expected to continue this kind of move. Come November 3rd, depends on what Mr. Paul says. Everything depends on him, I would say, because he's the market maker. And very famous saying on the on Wall Street, don't fight the Fed, right? Everybody respect that, and that is still true because they move the market. I'm talking about the macro trend point of view. So that's why it's super important. And of course, we have to watch DXY, the relationship between BTC and DXY, because DXY started bouncing. And the bounce is not high enough. As you could see, at this moment, this bounce is not high enough. It has to break about 113 to be back in the game. So though it's bouncing, I would say it hasn't reached to the level where it will prepare for a new high. So this is another thing. And that this is also going to be depend on November 3rd, in my point of view. Because if Fed goes up with the interest rate, the dollar will become stronger and not naturally. And of course, then the DXY will go up in that case, because then again, other currency will try to convert into dollar, right? So that will make dollar stronger. So I think next 4 or 5 days, whatever, until November 3rd, we should have good time. And then a decision. I'm not assuming that there will be bad time, but there will be decision, and that decision will drive the next trend. So that's it from my end. I hope I covered all. But if you have any question, let me know. So I'll end this session. I'm in the recording. And did I record? Oh shoot. Wait a minute. I forgot the recording of what. Wait a
I
minute.
thought you were recording it all.
I wasn't recording or what?
Oh,
Oh man.
no.
Oh no. Oh no, I spoke so much.
It's been shown that it's recorded the whole time.
It
on
says
my
it's
end.
recorded on the top left.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
I think you
Yeah,
recorded.
yeah,